Do you know what costs people the most? Not mistakes, not failures, but what they were planning to do tomorrow. We all have these big tomorrows. Tomorrow I'll start something new. Tomorrow I'll speak honestly. Tomorrow I'll change my life. But here's the tragedy. When tomorrow finally comes, it's already called today. And most of us still aren't ready. Every minute we postpone isn't just time, it's a chance that disappears. So let me ask you one question today. What will you lose if you keep waiting? Stay with me, because at the end of this video, I'll give you a practical way to learn how to act, not tomorrow, but now, even when it's scary, when there are no guarantees, when it feels like just a little more time wouldn't hurt. One thing has always puzzled me. Why do people who have dreams often act as if they have endless time? We postpone decisions, beginnings, conversations, changes, as if someone will someday press pause on our life, give us a break, let us know when the right moment comes. But here's the truth. Life doesn't have a pause button. The clock doesn't stop for anyone or anything. It ticks when we're inspired and when we're discouraged. It keeps going even when we say tomorrow. I've seen people lose their chance not because of failure, but because of waiting. They didn't lose the battle, they just never started it. And that's where the real drama begins, because life doesn't punish us instantly. It gives us an illusion as if there's still time, just a bit more, one more day, one more after the holidays, and that illusion is so sweet, so convenient that we start to believe it. But the moment we say tomorrow, we're stealing from our today. We've all done this, haven't we? Told ourselves, I'll start on Monday, I'll wait until I'm ready, I'll wait for the perfect moment, and then Monday comes and we postpone again. Why? Because the truth isn't that the moment hasn't come. The truth is that we're afraid to start without guarantees. We want to be sure it will work out. But life rarely offers guarantees. It offers opportunities. And those opportunities have an expiration date. There's an old saying I've come to love. He who doesn't value a minute doesn't deserve an hour. It's a harsh line, but think about how many great things were born from a single decision made at the right time. Not perfectly, not when it was convenient, just in time. Someone made the first call, wrote the first letter, went to the first meeting, launched the first project, and not when everything was ready, but when they simply couldn't wait any longer. That's the real secret of those who change the world. They stopped living in waiting for tomorrow. But we humans are strange creatures. We fear old age, yet act as if we'll live forever. We dream about the future, yet spend today in doubt. We say, I'll take the step tomorrow, and don't notice how that tomorrow turns into a year, then a decade. And one day the moment comes when it's too late to start, because time did what it always does, moved on. One evening I was sitting in my office flipping through old journal notes, and I came across an entry I had written many years ago. It said, "The day I learn to act immediately will be the day my life changes." Back then I didn't realize how true that was, because the biggest breakthrough in life doesn't come when we learn something new. It comes when we finally do what we've known all along. Think about it. We all know we need to act. We all know time is valuable. But knowledge doesn't change life. Action does. And every postponed action is like a brick in the wall between you and your potential. Every time we say later, we add another one. And over time, that wall becomes so high that we can't even see the light on the other side. So today I want to talk not about failure, but about a postponed life. Because a postponed life is the most insidious form of failure. It doesn't hurt immediately. It doesn't leave bruises. It just quietly steals your days, one by one, without drama, without warning. And one morning you wake up and realize what once seemed like there's still time has already become it's too late. Maybe that sounds harsh, but it's not punishment. It's a wake-up call. Because as long as you're hearing this, you still have today. And today isn't just another day. It's a chance to take everything back. A chance to start what you've been postponing. A chance to say, this time I won't wait for tomorrow. And you know what? When a person makes that decision, life changes instantly. Because the moment you start valuing today, it starts valuing you back. There's a quiet trap people rarely talk about. It doesn't scream, it doesn't scare, it doesn't make you run. It whispers, it politely offers, Do it tomorrow when you're ready. This is the smart person's trap, because we're not ignoring our goals, we're just planning better, right? We're optimizing, waiting for the moment when the data is complete, the resources are sufficient, and the confidence is flawless. And that's exactly where we lose, not because we got the plan wrong, but because we let planning replace motion. That's why I say, if you don't feel a sense of urgency, your desires lose their value. A desire without today is a label without a product. Look at any area of your life you want to improve. Health? You don't need a perfect routine, you need one step, today. Relationships? No need to wait until things settle. You need one honest conversation, today. Career? You don't have to know the whole path to the top. You need one email, one meeting, one challenge to yourself, and today. And yes, at that moment, the brain rolls its eyes. Seriously? That simple? And I'll say, yes, exactly that simple. Simplicity doesn't mean ease. Simplicity means clarity. And clarity is the power that cuts through the knot of postponement. I often see people confuse readiness with maturity. Readiness is an emotion. It's fickle. It likes good weather, an empty inbox, and a lack of critics. Maturity is a decision. It doesn't wait for clear skies. It recognizes that fear and doubt aren't stop signs. They're just road signs. You don't turn around when you see curve ahead, right? You adjust your course. That's it. So replace waiting for readiness with practicing maturity. Say to yourself, I don't have to feel it to do it. I do it, and the feeling will follow. Here's one honest question to ask yourself. What have you mistaken for preparation when it's just plain procrastination in a business suit? Sometimes we call it a little more research. Sometimes I need to get inspired. Sometimes it's not the right season. I know these phrases. They're elegant, they're polite, and they steal years. Write them down on paper and you'll see they have no date. And without a date, there's no commitment. And without commitment, no movement. And without movement, even the best idea remains a fantasy. Let's do a little mental experiment. Imagine your goals are trains that arrive at the Today station for just a few minutes. You can say, the next one will be more comfortable, it has softer seats. Sometimes that's true, but more often, it's self-deception. Because the next train goes a different route. It takes you to a different city, to different people, and to different opportunities. Every passing train is unique. You either get on or watch it disappear. And yes, it's scary to jump into a train not knowing all the stops. But I guarantee you, the fear of unknown stops is smaller than the pain of a missed boarding. Here's another nuance to pay attention to. The postponed life teaches us to become brilliant commentators of our own intentions. We're great at explaining why now isn't the time, telling theories about cycles, resources, and surroundings, and it all sounds smart. But be honest, does it bear fruit? Because nature has a law. A tree is judged by its fruit, not by speeches about gardening. Your day is your garden. What dropped into the basket today? If the answer is plans, thoughts, a bit more prep, the fruit won't grow. Fruit grows from action. Now a small twist, a micro anchor for your attention, but that's not all. There's one more invisible enemy, disrespect for minutes. We easily respect the hours where big tasks are written, but minutes seem trivial. That's why we let them slip away. Then wonder why we don't have enough hours. Listen carefully. Minutes are the seeds of hours. Those who sow minutes reap hours. 5 honest minutes of action today are worth more than 5 hours of intention tomorrow. Why? Because the first starts momentum, the second feeds illusion. I speak to you directly now. Where today can you activate momentum? Not a perfect 6-month plan, a 6-minute first step. One call, one paragraph, one proposal, one gym set, one review of your expenses, not because it will solve everything, but because it will change you. When you act, you become a person who acts. And that kind of person gets the next opportunities. Doors open when they see you're already in motion. You might ask, what about mistakes? They're inevitable. But listen closely. A mistake today is a detour. A delay tomorrow is a fog. You can reroute from a detour. But fog, it dissolves your direction. Better 10 course corrections along the way than one perfect map you never used. Now here's a small hint. Keep this in mind until the end of the episode. In the practical part, we'll break down a simple exercise that helps today win over tomorrow, even when you've got tons to do and almost no energy. But first, fix this core principle in your mind. Replace the cult of readiness with the discipline of presence. Presence is when you don't just think about life, you step into it with your legs, hands, voice, action. When you stop waiting for the perfect mood and start honoring your own word. And finally, in this section, like a small internal challenge, say out loud, today is my deadline. Not for everything, for one thing, for something specific that's been asking to be born for a long time. Say it and feel how your posture shifts. That's how consciousness works. When a deadline appears, energy follows. Create it, direct it. And remember, time doesn't care about excuses, it doesn't care who wins, but it always sides with the one who's already on the field. Are you stepping out? Great. Then don't wait for the whistle of perfect conditions. The game is on, and the ball, it's at your feet today. There's an interesting thing. People often confuse speed with haste. Haste is when you're rushing without direction. Speed is when you're moving in the right direction without unnecessary pauses. Today, we don't need chaos. We need controlled speed. And its first engine is clarity. Not everything at once, but one thing at a time. When a beam is focused, it cuts steel. When diffused, it only warms the air. Say out loud, today my task is one. Have you noticed how that quiets the noise? That's where productive silence is born, in a defined one thing. But there's a hidden trap here, and I want to reset your attention. We often fall in love with the grandeur of plans and get disappointed in the modesty of steps. We love to fantasize about the year, but shy away from the hour. Why? Because the year doesn't ask anything of us right now, the hour does. And I say, respect the hour. The hour is a small boat that ferries you across the bay of not yet to the port of done. Board it without haggling, no matter how rough the sea feels. Next, about inner roles. Most people tell themselves a story of waiting. I'm the one who prepares. It sounds nice, but the role of the eternal prep player has only one outcome, the bench. Change the script. Redefine your role. I'm the one who begins, not when everything is perfect, but when it's my turn. That's how identity changes, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You say the new role to yourself, and your body, schedule, and language will follow. Think of it like shifting gears, same engine, new trajectory. Here's a micro anchor. You'll say, all right, I'll start. But what if it goes badly? Then remember the law of action that saves you from perfectionism. Any movement is better than a flawless intention. Let your first draft be clumsy. The main thing is that it exists. You can polish it. You can't polish something that doesn't exist. The world rewards not promises, but prototypes. Not commentary, but attempts. Not someday, but here's the first iteration. Now about another dimension of time, the dignity of minutes. I often say discipline isn't a strict regimen. It's a form of self-respect. When you honor your minutes, you're declaring to the universe who you are. You're saying, I am a person of my word. And here's where the magic happens. Opportunities begin to test whether you truly are who you claim to be. They knock at inconvenient times without warning, without a perfect calendar. And if you've been practicing respect for minutes, you'll open the door. If not, you'll politely ask them to come back tomorrow. And tomorrow, opportunities have other routes. Let me give you another attention reset. A very dangerous illusion is when it gets easier. Things get easier through mastery, and mastery is born in resistance. Want ease? Take on the weight of today's minimum. 5 minutes of work every day outweigh 5 hours once a month. Why? Because 5 minutes build the muscle of habit. 5 hours just tell a story of that one time I worked hard. A habit means your actions no longer argue with you. They know their time and place. You just show up. Now, it's worth talking about the mind. It's a wonderful servant and a terrible master. If you don't assign it a task for today, it will start architecting doubts. It'll invent dozens of reasons not to start. That's why the mind must be employed. In the morning, a short list of 3 micro-actions. In the evening, a brief review, what got done, what got in the way, what to improve tomorrow. Not for self-punishment, for course correction. A pilot doesn't blame the plane for turbulence. He adjusts altitude. Be your own pilot. Another crucial detail, language. Words either trigger action or soothe procrastination. Remove soft phrases like I should, I ought to, someday from your vocabulary. Replace them with I start at, I send at, I finish by. When time gets a verb, it gets boundaries. When boundaries appear, energy follows. Don't wait for inspiration. Create deadlines. A deadline is a contract with yourself in the presence of a clock. Now, a short story. No heroics, just a lesson. I knew an entrepreneur who carried a brilliant idea in his head for years. He saw it so clearly, it felt like he was just a step away. But every one of his steps was preparatory. Another pitch to friends, another market analysis, another imagined risk scenario. One day, he agreed to an experiment. 1 phone call a day for 10 days. No magic, just the discipline of presence. On day 4, he found his first real partner. Imagine that, not from a genius plan, but from the 4th call. The takeaway is simple and sharp. The market responds to contact, not to dreams. And one more micro turn. Time is the great equalizer. We all get the same 24 hours. The winner isn't the one with fewer worries, it's the one who turns small windows into big outcomes. I call it the chess game of minutes. Your day is scattered across a board. Some squares are filled with obligations, but between them are empty spaces, short pauses. Most let them fade in endless scrolling. Masters use them for quick strikes. Reply, order, send, clear. 10 such moves a day change the position of the board. One last thought to end this section. A thought that eases the pressure. You don't need to turn life into a non-stop marathon. You just need to eliminate long idling on the shoulder. Move in a human rhythm. Focused sprint, short pause, course review, next sprint. That's how you stay fresh and increase distance. Fatigue doesn't come from action, but I think it comes from the inner battle between do it and delay it. When the decision is made, the body calms, the mind clears, the day gets lighter. Stay close, because in the next section we'll explore another angle. How to amplify urgency not with fear, but with a shift in values. We'll talk about the inner alarm clock you can set without any gadgets, right into your character. And then we'll get to the practice. I'll give you a simple system that turns I want to someday into done today, even if your schedule is packed and your energy low. Remember, the future doesn't arrive, it is brought by our action today. And if you're already feeling that subtle pull in your chest, that's it, your next step. Don't silence it, catch it, and do it now. There's a difference between fear and urgency. Fear tightens, urgency frees. Fear says be careful, urgency says be present. I stand for the kind of urgency that pulls your shoulders back, lifts your gaze, and reminds you today is not a rough draft, it's the stage. And when you accept that stage as your own, a new quality enters your life. Fullness. You stop whispering to your plans and start speaking with the voice of decision. From that, confidence is born, quiet, without flash. Confidence is when you don't shout, you act. Inside each of us lives a metronome. Some let it tick any way it wants. Others set the tempo. What is setting the tempo? It's choosing what to say yes to first and what to say later. Real urgency isn't rushing from the whole world. It's prioritizing from your own values. If health, relationships, your work matter to you, they come first in the morning before the day dissolves into details. Someone might ask, but what about everything else? Everything else becomes everything else because the essential already had your presence. When the important fills your morning glass, the rest doesn't blur the taste of the day. Let me offer you a mental image. Imagine today is a narrow bridge across a chasm between intention and result. A truck carrying everything at once won't cross it, but one person with a steady step and one important task in hand will. They walk across, place the task on the shore of results, turn around and return for the next one. That's how a path is built, not with a caravan of excuses, but trips of decisions. Each trip strengthens the bridge. Your self-trust grows. Self-respect is the currency of urgency. When you fulfill the promises you made to yourself, your character's credit rating rises for bigger goals. Now about energy. Many say, I'd do it if I had the strength, but the truth is often, I'd gain the strength if I did it. Action creates tone. Movement gets the blood flowing. Focus sparks the mind. Even a small step taken before doubt shows up is like flipping the light switch in a room you're used to stumbling through. Will you trip sometimes? Yes. But now you can see the furniture. Seeing is better than guessing. Action is better than waiting for the perfect battery. There's another game changer, the ethics of time. How do you treat other people's deadlines? Do you show up on time? Do you reply when you said you would? Here's a strange truth. People who waste others' minutes always lose their own hours. Why? Because their inner clock lacks discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and results. When you begin to respect other people's time, your time starts responding in kind. It stops slipping through your fingers. It gathers in your palms and pays you back with interest. Let's talk about doubt. Doubt isn't an enemy, it's a border guard. It asks at the gate, do you really want this? Don't fight it. Show your ticket. Your action. Doubt respects documents. After the first step, its voice quiets. After the second, it disappears into the hum of work. I often say, the world rewards clear signals. When you send a signal to the world through action, it replies with opening doors. Not all, not immediately, but enough to show you urgency isn't pressure, it's the language of opportunity. Now, a reset of attention. It's important to distinguish tiredness from lack of meaning. When your work has meaning, fatigue becomes honest, like a muscle after a workout, sore but right. But when meaning is fuzzy, any small thing becomes exhausting. So don't just plan steps, feed your meaning. Remind yourself why it matters now, not someday, not for someone abstract, for the person looking back at you in the mirror each morning. Meaning is the fuel of urgency. When you see the why, you'll find the how faster. Another point, self-intelligence. Urgency doesn't mean cruelty, it means honesty. If you missed a deadline with yourself, it's not a character failure, it's a signal to the system. Don't correct your worth, adjust the mechanics. Overloaded the day? Shrink the package, but don't stop the motion. Find the smallest next step that doesn't need heroism, only presence. Remember, consistency beats intensity over long distances. Better 3 small, consistent shots than 1 big firework into the sky. Here's a quick story for visualization. A musician once told me how he got back in shape after a break. He didn't jump into hard pieces right away. He set a metronome and played simple scales for 10 minutes a day, increasing the tempo gradually. After a month, his fingers spoke the language of music again. Remember this image, the daily scales. Those are your micro actions. They seem basic, but they restore your mastery. And when your concert comes, you'll be ready. Not because you waited for the perfect mood, but because you played your 10-minute scale yesterday. One last question, direct and simple. What action today will prove you respect yourself more than your doubts? Not to the world, to yourself. An email sent, a walk instead of the Monday promise, a call you were afraid to make, a quick journal entry with a lesson from the day. Here's the interesting part. When you take that action, you wake up tomorrow with a new I can. It's quiet, but strong. It doesn't bang the drums. It puts the steering wheel back in your hands. And finally, a semi-open announcement. In a moment, we'll move to practice. I'll share a simple framework that keeps tomorrow from overruling today. It includes a morning setup, a midday impulse, and an evening reflection. 3 brief moments that weave urgency into the fabric of your day. But remember, no system works without the main thing, your decision. Say to yourself now, quietly and confidently, I choose today. Words are seeds, plant them. And in the practical part, we'll learn to water them. Before we end this conversation, I want you to do one important thing, not for me, for yourself. Just stay here for a moment in silence. Turn off the other thoughts. Don't plan, don't analyze, don't rush. Just breathe and listen. Because this moment isn't about speed, it's about honesty. We often search for answers in a world that screams, but the real answers come when we allow ourselves a few minutes of quiet. So I'm going to ask you 5 simple questions from 1 to 10. 1, not at all. 10, completely yes. Not with your mind, but with your heart. Don't pause the video. Just listen. Think as you go. This isn't a test, it's a meeting with yourself. First question, how sincerely am I living today, not just getting through it, waiting for tomorrow? From 1 to 10. Think about how you woke up this morning. Was there a sense of life or just routine? Because the difference between them is your entire destiny. Second question, how honestly am I using my time? Are there minutes I give away without trace, to small distractions, to scrolling, to habits that bring neither peace nor results? Same scale, 1 to 10. And this question isn't for guilt, it's for clarity. Because clarity is always the beginning of freedom. Third question, how often do I act when I'm not ready? That's where maturity is measured. Can I take a step without a guarantee, without applause, without the perfect moment? From 1 to 10. If your number's low, that's not a failure. It's a compass. Now you know where to aim your effort tomorrow morning. Fourth question, how well do I keep my word to myself? We often keep promises to others, but break the ones we make to ourselves. From 1 to 10. And if today you decide to do just one thing, do it. Even something small. That's how you rebuild trust in your own voice. Fifth question, how deeply do I feel gratitude for this day? Not for achievements, but simply for being able to live, to hear, to see, to breathe. From 1 to 10. because gratitude isn't the finale, it's the fuel. A grateful person doesn't postpone, they live. Now that you've answered, at least in your mind, don't rush forward. Give yourself a few seconds of silence. This is your space, without judgment, without comparison, without haste. Maybe some of your answers surprised you. That's wonderful, because growth begins exactly where surprise lives. You don't have to fix everything at once. Start with one point, one step, one action, 1 minute of awareness. Small steps taken daily eventually create the person you've long wanted to become. And here's a gentle piece of advice. When the video ends, don't rush back into your usual rhythm. Return to these 5 questions in the evening. Write down your answers in a journal, if you have one, or simply repeat them in your mind before bed. Because real self-work doesn't begin with music or inspiration. It begins in silence. And if today, even for a moment, you felt that time isn't an enemy but a gift, then this day has already been lived well. And tomorrow when you wake up, remember that feeling. Don't chase inspiration, just act, because now you know tomorrow doesn't need waiting. It begins today with you. We've been talking today about time, but you know, deep down, it's not really a conversation about minutes. It's a conversation about life, because time isn't something outside of us. It is us, spread across days, hours, breaths, and each of those is another piece of proof that we're here, that we're alive, that we can act. I often say, life doesn't ask whether you're ready or not. It simply offers the stage, and the one who steps onto it, even with trembling knees, earns a chance for applause that never comes without courage. Not perfection, courage. My friends, no one comes into this world just to watch. We're all here to create, to weave something of ourselves into the fabric of our days. And when the evening of our story comes, no one will ask how much we had or what we planned. They'll ask, what did we do with what we had? How did we live our today? Remember, success doesn't come from hustle. It comes from presence, from how you look at the sunrise, how you speak to people, how you keep your word even when no one's watching. Because life is always watching. It sees who acts and who waits. And it always stands with those who've already taken the first step. Maybe you're thinking, what if I haven't started yet? Then here's my advice. Start now, not tomorrow, not after the holidays, not when the mood comes. Start now with what you have. Because the one who knows how to value today is never poor. Today is capital. Tomorrow is only a promise. Once I heard a simple phrase that changed how I see life. One day can change a year. 1 year can change a lifetime. But only if that day is used completely, and now I pass it on to you. Because this day is yours. This morning, this hour, these few minutes after we part, then all of it can still become a beginning. So don't wait. Don't ask life for another chance. You already have it in your hands. It's called today. And if you lift your eyes, take a breath, and tell yourself, I'm beginning. Then maybe, at that very moment, life will whisper back, finally, you're here. I've been waiting for you. Now go. And make this day the proof that you've learned the most important thing. Not to wait, but to live. Not to postpone, but to create. Not to hope for tomorrow, but to fully be in today. Because tomorrow doesn't exist, only now does. And if you learn to cherish this moment, life will begin to cherish you.